Good morning and welcome to week 6 of the Hearthstone Global Games. This man to my left is Lorinda. My name is Falcone and we have a whopping 6 series of Hearthstone to bring you today.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty much insane action all the way. No team is safe apart from Brazil, although some of them have got good enough tiebreakers to be safe. So every match is going to matter, and I'm pretty sure that Dan's intro was nowhere near as good as mine last night.
Your intro last night. Hello, Global Games community. Hi, show, game on road. Let's
taught him everything I know.
Started. Yeah, it's pretty good. I like that new style of doing things. Yeah, as Lorinda said, though, this week is very, very important. It's the final week of the HGG Swiss. Only 16 teams will remain, and we're not sure that all of the 4 wins are going to make it.
No, in fact, one of them definitely won't, and one of them might not, depending how other results go. So some of them are safe, depending on their tiebreakers. We won't bore you with the exact details of tiebreakers, but basically it depends on who you played and how they've done. And we'll give you a rough idea. We can't commit to anything because there's so many matches that it can all change a lot. But we will give you a rough idea of how teams place in those tiebreakers, just so you know what their chances are of going through. But most of the teams, if they win this week, they are through, is the short version, or fairly short version. It wasn't that short, was it?
No, not that short at all. The 4 and 2, I mean, the 4 and 2s, if they win, obviously they'll be through. But we have a lot of teams with only 3 wins playing this week, and they're playing in this position where if they win, they should be through, but if they lose, they definitely will not be. It's going to be a real slaughter this week in the HGG studio.
Yeah, and that is the key. The key is that if you don't win, you're out if you're on 3 and 2. So let's have a look at which teams need to get that win to even have that chance of going through. All the teams you can see there at the top are basically safe, apart from Bulgaria, whose tiebreakers are pretty awful. If they lose this week, they could be the team that misses out.
Oh dear. Okay, so important game coming up a little bit later, which will be Bulgaria versus X. I've forgotten who X is. We'll see when we look at the schedule a little bit later.
X, that all-encompassing, difficult team to beat.
But there you go. That's the overarching standings here. Brazil, again, being the only 5-0 team. But all of those 3 and 2s are in grave danger this week. They all have to win or they're out.
Yeah, that's basically the short version. As you can see, there's nowhere near 16 teams safe, so nearly all of the winners will go through. And there's some fantastic teams. Japan, Sweden, USA, Belgium spring out there, but there's plenty of others in that lineup there trying to get to that magical 4 wins.
Yeah, it's really not been an easy tournament for these good teams, has it, Hearthstone Global Games? We teased yesterday a little bit about the fact that USA, they wanted to show how good they are. They wanted to take the hardest possible route in. They lost the first few games and they wanted to win everything since.
So every team they've won against since has been knocked out by them, because that's how 2 losses to 3 losses works.
Yeah,
so they've just been destroying the field from the bottom up. But then some of the other good teams, Brazil was one of the teams, I don't think anybody picked them, but we knew they were good. Straight up to 5-0, they're proving that LATAM are here to stay.
Should we take a look at which games we'll be bringing you today? There are 3 days of HGG this week, as with every week, but today, these are the ones coming up. We're kicking off with Norway versus Thailand, then we have Germany versus Indonesia, Hong Kong versus Sweden, Taiwan versus the United Kingdom, Netherlands versus Poland. And finally, this match has been moved from Thursday to today. You may be confused if you watched the community show yesterday, but it's going to be Chile versus Singapore to round out today's mammoth 6 series broadcast.
I'm not sure that's the only reason you'd be confused if you watched the community show yesterday. Yes, 6 matches, so somewhere in the region of 10 hours of Hearthstone, maybe even more if the teams slow down a bit this week, as all the matches are so important. And starting off with that Norway-Thailand clash, not as easy as Norway probably think it's going to be. Thailand racking up a lot of tour stop victories this year, and they've had 3 of their players have made it to the actual tour stops themselves, so not going to be a walkover for Norway.
That being said, I know that Norway, having spoken to Zorkthar this morning, I know that Norway are feeling particularly confident about this one, especially since the picks and bans have gone through.
Zorkthar feeling confident. There's a new thing. Zorkthar's got to break the curse this week. When we do the question and answers for Community Show, every week, one of the players from one of the teams says, hey, why are we going to win this week? And every week, that team loses.
Is that a thing? I actually
That's been a thing, yeah.
Well, there you go.
So, Zorkthar this week, I probably shouldn't have put that question through because Norway's my pick, but I did. Let's have a look at the picks and bans and the draft phase that Dan was just talking about.
Let's take a look at the teams before
Oh,
we
look
do
at the
that.
teams?
Let's take a look at the teams.
I don't want to look at the teams.
And see who's playing. It's going to be Norway, Hunter Ace, NTR, Zorkthar, and Colbane versus Thailand, Disday, Patayo, Viper Pro, and Cappy. Two very, very strong teams. Again, touching on Norway for a second, the team are apparently actually heading to Oslo today because Zorkthar and Hunter Ace are going to be in a documentary on national TV over there.
That would be interesting. Like, just the contrast between Zorkthar and Hunter Ace should be enough for any TV show. I wouldn't mind watching that.
Yeah, Zorkthar said something about how he's going to say he found Hunter Ace in a cave and brought him up from there.
That's probably about true, actually. I'm pretty sure that Zorkthar spent most of his life looking around caves and stuff.
Just find the best Hearthstone player in the world.
I want to go to Thailand. You've been to Thailand. It was lovely, right?
Is it
I'm not saying the B word live on stream.
beautiful?
Beautiful.
Yeah, Thailand is beautiful.
And so is Norway. Come to that.
Yes. Yeah, not much to add to that, but yeah, little documentary thing happening. Dan's Factometer. Linda's Factometer. Hello?
Why have I got a Factometer?
Production team, are we okay today? Is everything okay? Do we need to come and check up on you? Oh, it's supposed to say Lorinda 1.
Oh, I see. It's supposed to be 1.
Okay.
1 fact. Thailand is beautiful.
Well, that was interesting.
That was better than Dan's facts.
Let's. About the curse. About the curse. Okay.
Oh, so yeah. Okay, we're finding things out as we go today.
Moving on. Let's take a look now at the picks and bans for these two teams. Here we go.
Would like to see which players are playing, to be honest.
We've
So
done that one.
getting rid of the Warrior and the Warlock here, which leaves up the Rogues. It's going to be Quest Rogue for Norway, I believe, and Odd Rogue for Thailand. They're snaffling up those picks as quickly as possible.
Snaffling.
Yeah. It's like taking as quickly as possible.
I've missed casting with you, Lorinda. I've missed these words.
And all of these picks and bans, as you can see, without further context, can be a bit awkward, but both teams playing traditional Shutterwalk, and both of those got banned. Let's have a look at what else there is. Down the list, there's different. Priests are always the Mind Blast Priest or Control Priest.
Or Topsy-Turvy Priest.
Or Topsy-Turvy Priest.
But yeah.
Thailand are playing the newish Boar Control Secret / Subject 9 Hunter, so that's something to look forward to.
I'm particularly interested about that one. I believe it's been having a lot of success recently. Various players have been playing it on the ladder towards the end of last season. Mid-range Hunter, as it's being referred to by some.
I'm not quite sure of the evolution of that deck because Braggy posted a list a few days ago that didn't have Subject 9 in it. And Braggy, for those who don't know, was the person to blame for the original Barnes deck, which he called Phantom Hunter because Barnes summoned the Phantom of the Opera. But then this Boar Controls deck is very similar. I don't know if he tested it or if it came up independently.
Well, Boar's just gone through all of the Hunter decks and been like, can Subject 9 go in here?
He has, yeah. He's had some hilarious discussions on Twitch, particularly with Zale, as he now calls himself.
Yeah, was going to bring up the same thing. Let's take a look at the matchups. Which matches are going to be, or which decks are going to be against which decks, as we start off today with Hunter Ace on the Quest Rogue versus Disday on the Control Priest. And as I was saying to you a few moments ago, Zorkthar mentioned to me that he's very, very confident that Team Norway are going to take this one quite easily. He believes they've managed to win this phase of the bans all the way through, starting with Quest Rogue versus Control Priest, favoured for the Rogue, then Odd Paladin versus Odd Rogue, favoured for the Paladin, and then Token Druid versus Subject 9 Hunter, which is where it gets a bit closer, but in theory, still favoured for the Hunter.
Interesting to see that Hunter Ace is on the Rogue, because NTR is pretty much a Rogue specialist, a Quest Rogue specialist. Okay. But Hunter Ace, even though he ended up losing the match against Sinterlol at playoffs this weekend, beat Odd Rogue with the Quest Rogue. So how can you take that deck away from him right now? Yeah,
I mean, last year, again, it's the big thing that I can remember from Hunter Ace last year in the Hearthstone Global Games, him beating Pirate Warriors with Quest Rogues and just making very smart use of Glacial Shards, etc. I just remember that being what impressed me the most. But hey, when you're talking about being impressed by a Quest Rogue, Giggling Inventor, Coin, and Shadow Step tend to be a good combo to have. Maybe not so much against Control Priest, though.
Yeah, not in so much of a hurry, but it doesn't really matter. You get that giggling inventor and you're always in a decent spot. Interestingly, you quite often throw it away. It's a better card to draw than it is to have in your opener because, oddly enough, it costs 5 mana and that's kind of slow. Watching the match between Fino and Vardu the other day, where Fino was playing Quest Rogue against Paladin, even though they wanted the giggling inventor, they were throwing it away a lot. I say they because it was Psycho and a couple of others helping on one side, and Vardu had Green Sheep and others helping on his. But this isn't that match. This is a matchup where you've got not as much time in the world as you want, but you have got a whole lot of time. This is the exact sort of matchup that Quest Rogue loves to play.
Yep, hence why Zorkthar was telling me he's so happy that he got this matchup. It just gets to its win condition before the Priest does. Eventually, when the Priest's finally able to cast his Mind Blasts, they're probably already dead.
Thailand picking up the pieces, though, to try and get as many cards as quickly as possible. One thing they can do is rifle through their deck as quickly as they can, try and get enough stuff together, so if they're not dead by turns 8 or 9, maybe they can go Alex Straz and Mind Blast you a bit, or they can just hit you with Pyromancers and Twilight Drakes, and then Mind Blast you out for the finish. There are ways to get Quest Rogue's health total down. Because they have Mind Blast, it doesn't have to go through taunts. So if they can do some early damage, maybe, just maybe, they can get it done. But looking at Hunter Ace's hand, that maybe is a long way off.
That being said, Hunter Ace doesn't have any card generation, apart from, I guess, Zola, if you count that. Really, he wants to draw some Novice Engineers, some Elven Minstrels, the Mimic Pods, if he's running them. I'm not actually sure. Let me just double check that. Yeah, he is. He's running 2 copies of Mimic Pod, 1 copy of Fan, 2 copies of Minstrel. Oh, what's he cut then?
I mean, you're both staring at the deck list here.
That seems like one. Oh, he's running 1 boar.
Okay.
And, yeah, okay, 1 boar, 2 deckhands.
That does make a bit of sense to me. I think the Mimic Pods will end up getting cut from this deck eventually, in general, but you don't tend to win with a whole OTK like you used to. Because 4/4s don't do damage as quickly as 5/5s. You tend to win by just playing Giggling Event a million times and winning that way.
And look at this, Hunter is showing how low he values the Stone to Spore. They're just going to throw it away into Pyromancer.
Yeah, just getting. And it's not just how much he doesn't value the boar; it's how much he values not taking early damage.
Yep.
If that Pyromancer was to hit face 2 or 3 times, then you are later on. Again, I'm going through the maybes, but Hunter Ace is playing around the ways he can lose the game, which is take damage and get Mind Blasted.
Felt like it was important to work out there which card had been cut, because it's like 1 Fan, 2 Mimic, 2 Elven Minstrel. That's too many cards. That's too many cards in the deck. But yeah, it is the boar, and it's interesting.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like, if you're playing in some tournaments, you might not bring the fans because it might have, like, there's Last Hero Standing coming up at Montreal this weekend. Maybe you don't run the fan because that's like a hedge against running into an aggro deck.
Yeah.
But in this format where you can't ban out everything, you can only ban out 4 classes, maybe that little hedge against running against aggro is fantastic at championships, at playoffs for him.
Another thing that's interesting, at least to me about it, is cutting a Stone to Spore instead of a Southsea Deckhand. Deckhand is a 2/1 until the quest is complete, but after the quest is complete, boar is strictly better than Southsea Deckhand because you don't need the weapon anymore in order to have charge.
Yep.
So it looks like there is definitely a lot of value being put into these minions pre-quest completion.
Yeah, I think you find that the weapon gets used a lot less than it used to in most matchups. So in the matchups where you're going to win with the boar, you probably have a weapon charge. I mean, you can choose to attack or not, right?
Well, yeah, but it's also the, like, after you play Valera, oozes can happen and your weapon can be taken away.
Yeah, that's fair.
You. Anyway, while we've been saying all of that, Hunter Ace did just get Novice Engineer from a Mimic Pod, and that's about as good a draw from the Mimic Pod as he could get, I think.
Yeah, I think the reason we're talking in general terms right now is unless something completely insane happens from Disday here, this will just be a blowout victory for Hunter Ace. But he has managed to assemble a board for Thailand, and you know, one thing that Rogue isn't great at in any Rogue deck is clearing boards, except Hunter Ace, with that Novice Engineer pickup, has just managed to get himself into Vanishers and such like now. And 1 Vanish tends to just set the Priest back so far because the amount of mana needed to re-establish your board is just so much.
I mean, this game is just... Hunter Ace is in that silly position that Quest Rogue find themselves in, where he's got all of the tools he could possibly ever want to complete this quest now. The question is, how does he go about doing it? Is he going to start playing Pandas to bounce the Rune Master? Is he going to Shadow Step so that next turn he can go Novice Engineer Vanish? you know, he's just deciding which path he wants to take. It's going to go Zola. I think the best thing about Zola here is that there's a chance that the Zola survives, that the and then when the Vanish happens, that gets put back in the hand and starts all over again.
Yeah, one of the things that has changed significantly about this Rogue deck, and which is why Giggling Inventor was the final piece to make it actually reasonably playable again. Yes, I do realise people played it before that, but
reasonably playable again. Is that the description of Quest Rogue now?
I mean, I don't want to get fired. So reasonably playable sounds PG enough for me. But yeah, it's not in the hurry it used to be. It used to be if you complete with Novice Engineers, it's way too slow. But now you just plop down a Giggling Inventor, slow things down, and you can afford to complete the quest with those slightly larger minions. I mean, you can see it completed with Gigglings sometimes, let alone Novice Engineers.
Sure.
But their priority is not dying. If you're going to slow things down, it is important that you complete it at the same time.
But now Dizdari is just going to be pushing as much damage as he can to this face. Actually taking Zola the Gorgon, interestingly, so he still has to hit into that taunt, but he's still pushing 6 damage.
I like this a lot. This means that if he gets vanished, then Huntrace doesn't have the Zola anymore. In some worlds, not this world, as you can see, because you get vanished immediately, the Zola would go into their hand, but I believe it gets burned as the last card on his side.
It
now.
will do, yeah. Along with Thailand's next drawn card.
Also forces out the Vanish. I mean, you don't want to get vanished, but if you're going to, get it done early and just get it over with, and now you can maybe develop at will onto the board. And the big question for Thailand now is, when do they want to do this Psychic Scream? Huntrace isn't going to leave much lying around, so Thailand are probably just going to stick as much as possible on the board. But one thing they could consider is putting a hodgepodge of just rubbish on the board and then Psychic Screaming it if Huntrace does leave stuff to challenge it, and then put the real minions down the turn after.
Yes. It's a horrible position for Thailand this game, because, again, the quest counter, as you can see, is on 2. Thailand knows that there's at least 2 Novice Engineer in Norway's hand, and if they've been hand tracking correctly, they will know there's 3 because they'll know the first Novice came from the Mimic Pod. So actually, if Thailand have been paying attention, they know that Huntrace is ready to complete the quest.
They do, and that is not a fun spot to be in, so they're going to need that Psychic Scream for later. If they can just sneakily somehow, easier said than done, get through 6 more damage, and then Powered Shield into their card draw and get themselves 3 Mind Blasts, that's their way to try and cheesy victory this. So Norway do have to step it up. They can't keep messing about.
That's right, Neil. It's easy as that. Get 3 Mind Blasts, bish bash bosh, win the game.
I mean, yeah, we're talking from a perspective of a team that's got a really difficult game, right? You've got to find, how do I ever win this? And it involves a bit of luck. How do I get that bit of luck? Well, let's get myself Shadow Visions, let's get myself some Mind Blasts, let's get all my cards drawn, use a Psychic Scream aggressively to clear an early board, and maybe find 15 damage, and hope that Huntrace doesn't have any healing in the Scale Heights. All of those things are why Quest Rogue is so good in this matchup. Oh, there it is. And the Valera picked up along the way as well. So
now, what Norway have is infinite value, infinite healing, infinite taunt, infinite draw.
And Huntrace. Just in case.
And Huntrace.
And NTR, again, who is incredibly good at this deck, and I've no doubt will be giving a lot of insight into Huntrace's decisions too.
There's one.
Yeah.
4 to go for 25 damage.
Yeah, it's just such a mess, and picking it up means they've got less chance of Shadow Visions into it, so not much fun for them at all. If Norway win this, their tiebreakers are probably good enough. Things can go wrong, but they're in a good spot. If Thailand win, they are one of the teams with the worst tiebreakers. A lot of teams will be wanting Thailand to win this match.
Right, because then...
Because they might overtake them, yeah.
They themselves will have better tiebreakers than Thailand.
You know, on average, again, just be very careful about saying bad tiebreakers are bad tiebreakers. They're not elimination until you've seen all the results. Weird things can happen. When you're relying on the 5 teams you previously played, plus you're relying on how the teams that played those 5 teams previously played in some instances, a lot of things can change in the last week. But Thailand do have pretty bad tiebreakers right now. And again, those teams will be cheering for Thailand. Nobody will want Norway to win apart from probably me, because they're my pick.
Thailand not choosing to push that one little bit of damage in there. I guess it doesn't make much of a difference until they can put Hunter Race down to 15. As Hunter Race picks up another Novice Engineer.
And look how this deck draws cards when it just gets one Novice Engineer. It's down to 12 cards. The Priest deck is the deck that's supposed to be going through the deck as quickly as possible, and yet Hunter Race has managed to draw 7 more cards.
I hope you like my invention.
Which is pretty ridiculous. Well,
not quite burning the quest, luckily.
I like this invention. Yeah, that would be amusing.
If Hunter Race burned the quest in HGG, that would be very amusing.
That would be highlight number 1 of next week. Unless somebody gets another Swamp King Dread. And now it's just all about how Norway decide to go about disassembling this board. Yeah, that seems the best place. Dodge it up as much as you can until next turn, and then next turn use your Valera to buy more time. And we all know what happens after that. The Scale Hides will come to play if needed and get bounced and get loads of health.
Now, what's interesting here is that Thailand might just decide to ditch the board and try and deal damage to the face. If Thailand can somehow empty their own board, then Vicious Scale Hides won't be able to deal to heal immediately.
That is a good point, so they get some damage through. No, I like it.
That's
I like
all
it a lot.
easier said than done, though.
But especially now they picked up Anduin. If they do bump into the Wax Elemental and then Psychic Scream and then drop an Anduin with a Mind Blast in hand, that is a way they can get some damage assembled.
Right. But now it's sort of a disadvantage to Priest following the nerf to Quest Rogue, because if Disney did Psychic Scream now, let Norway fill up the board, and then play Anduin, it would clear the board. But now it doesn't.
That's the most recent nerf, not a new nerf that's yet to happen.
So instead, Thailand is just going to try and push as much of this damage to the face as possible, but Hunter Race is going to be able to heal up by quite a bit. Yes, the Anoitrons have Divine Shield, which does stop the lifesteal. However, Norway can pop those Divine Shields with other minions and then hit with the now 2 Scale Hides in the hand.
Yeah, the other thing is Valera, obviously, with her ability of basically being a undamageable. It's not undamageable in some situations, but basically the stealth option for next turn means they can comfortably go about just playing Valera a lot of the time.
Mind Blast still gets through, but with 20 health, which is what that would be if Valera's played.
And then they can heal up the turn after. But Thailand know it's the Valera turn. They have got that Psychic Scream option. I mean, it's still a long way off, but yeah. Stopping the healing is the first step towards getting something done here. Having Anduin is the second, having the Mind Blast is the third. And they still need about 10 steps after that.
So close then.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't take it too lightly. But we all know that Quest Rogue is massively favoured in this position. Yeah, and Hunter Race just wants to get that healing in immediately.
Definitely can't fault that. I mean, he's got the bouncers, he's able to put these Scale Hides back in the hand again and can pretty much repeat this all day long. With Norway back at 23 health, it's going to be difficult for Thailand to get that total down.
Do you feel Quest Rogue is one of those decks where having a team around you is really important, whoever you are?
Yes. I think that this is, as one of the hardest decks to play, I think Quest Rogue is much, much better with at least 2 people. Maybe 4. For an inexperienced team, maybe having 4 would be worse, because obviously that's 4 mouths all trying to talk, all trying to give their opinions at the same time.
And this is where you want to say to somebody, has there been a Shadow Visions? Because 3 Mind Blasts and 2 pings would be 19. So even though you know that there hasn't, you still want one of your teammates to just confirm, yes, 19 is safe, don't panic.
But a team like Norway, who again, they are Team Nordavind. They're a team who are used to communicating with each other, who are used to playing together. Yeah, absolutely having 4 of them there is going to help them.
Hunter Race beat Zorkthar over the weekend.
And
Zorkthar had pretty much the counter lineup.
Whew.
Yeah. Because how these teams prepare, they don't always necessarily take the same lineup when they go to playoffs. They work together, they test together, they talk about things together. But ultimately, especially when there's 4 or 5 of you in a lineup of only 80 players, you work out what's good together, but you don't actually show your final hand together, because otherwise you're being counterproductive.
Yeah. This play with the ping and the Psychic Scream would almost have set up lethal next turn if there were a second Mind Blast in the hand. But again, almost and if are two words that don't go very well with lethal. So Hunter Ace isn't going to really feel the heat just yet.
And that is down to the fact that last turn he realised this was a setup for the Psychic Scream, because again, Thailand have a very strong team. Just because you don't know all the players, because you watch a lot of Western Hearthstone, doesn't necessarily mean they're not strong. They racked up a lot of HCT points between them last season. And Hunter Ace was able to respect the fact that they would play the Anduin first because of the way the health gain worked, and he was able to counter that by making the health gain happen.
I was going to say also, Norway may want to set up a scale hide in case Thailand just don't decide to play any more minions this game.
Dan, this is getting really close. Look, sorry to interrupt you. This Holy Fire pickup has changed everything.
Well, this is it, and this is why I'm saying Hunter Ace may have wanted to play that scale hide, but because they've got Valera, they know that they sort of have a turn of safety. But after that, they're going to be in trouble.
That's why they had to set up this 2-turn lethal with 20 attack on board, and the Priest on 35, Priest giving up its healing. They've got to set up as much as they can, ready for next turn. I imagine we'll see a full board. They can lose this game to another Psychic Scream now, which is what's going to take them some time. Because if this was Psychic Screamed away and they couldn't lethal the turn after, they would lose to the Mind Blast and the pings. So Psychic Scream off the top for Thailand could be a massive deal here. Thailand
are taking advantage of the difference between rush and charge here. They're not allowing that scale hide to hit the face and heal Hunter Ace.
No weapon equipped for Valera here, so that boar you were talking about earlier with the South Sea deckhand, in some situations would be a big difference.
I am really interested in that, like why it's boar that gets cut over deckhand.
I think it's because you normally have a weapon equipped. Like if you are saying like you don't normally attack with a weapon if you can help it, but in this situation they have had to. Because the giggling inventors on the other side have been so proliferant. I don't know what the word is. It's proliferating.
Proliferating. What does that mean, Lorinda?
There's a lot of them.
What, a lot of meanings?
Yeah, that too. And really impressed with how Thailand have approached this. They've given themselves chances to win this game over and over.
You did say, as we did the intro, like Thailand are no slouches themselves. They have proven themselves to be a powerful team here in the Hearthstone Global Games.
Disdo was top 16 at Sydney earlier in the year, so he's obviously been around there. Kapi was top 8 in Bangkok. Patayao was top 16 in Taipei. So they've been playing a lot of Hearthstone this year, these guys.
Now, Disney has had to use his Mind Blast in order to proc that Pyromancer and claim most of this board, which means, as we can see, he lacks the damage to actually finish Hunter Ace off. Not only that,
he's had to leave a minion.
He's left a minion on the board.
Yeah, and now the Scale Hide, obviously leaving that minion on the board, will be able to heal up for another 4. But Hunter Ace is not trusting this, because if from where he sat, another Mind Blast and some pings could be lethal. They've got to work out, is there a lethal? I don't think there's much they can do about it if there is anyway.
So he just has to make the play that gives him the highest health total, which is going to be Scale Hide, rush it in, I guess Vanish, maybe even play the second Scale Hide, prep Vanish, or Vanish first and then play a... No, that doesn't work.
That doesn't get you any more health. Yeah, you've got to make sure lethal's on the board. Indeed. And next turn, Primordial Drake's going to wipe this lot out.
So he just has to play the second Scale Hide then? It's a free card, essentially.
Do you want that as your free card? I mean, you probably do. They can definitely lose this game. This is getting really iffy, because next turn they lose their board, they get pinged in the face, but how does Thailand not leave up Primordial Drake?
Woo! Playing around the Primordial Drake by playing double Sonya. I love this.
Yeah, it's like we can't beat Psychic Scream, or we could beat it, but this board's bad against Psychic Scream. But we think there's a Primordial Drake, because there's 2 of those left in the deck. There's only 1 Scream. They may have Screamed as last turn if they had Scream. And look at this weird setup. Why would they do what they did last turn if they didn't have Primordial Drake in hand? So, working it out there between them.
But this double Sonya is just impossible to play around. Like, what can Thailand do about this? They drop Giggling Inventor? Great. Norway trades in Scale Hide, replays it again, heals for another 4. Does the same with the Inoitron. Oh, sorry, he gets 2 Scale Hides back because there's 2 Sonya. Thailand give it up. There's no way past this wall of Sonyas and taunts. and Norway eventually take game number 1, though that got a lot dicier than I expected.
Yeah, and if Norway thought they were going to get this easy today, I think Thailand have shown there that they are not going to just roll over and lose. They have put up a great fight there in a very, very unfavoured matchup. Okay, there was only 1 or 2 turns where it looked like they might have a chance, but they got themselves into that position. I love watching teams play unfavoured matchups.
Yeah, I mean, again, it has to be said, Thailand played that very well, as you said before. Playing around as much of the rushing lifesteal as possible, as much as the using psychic screams as efficiently as possible. Yeah, it was a really well-played game.
Unfavoured matchups, Dan.
Okay.
Game number 2.
Yep.
Odd Paladin versus Odd Rogue. There we see it on the screen. If they thought they had it tough last game, they haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, Norway found a rogue that Odd Paladin beats. Not Quest Rogue.
Not a Quest Rogue.
As we established yesterday in Fino's show match over the weekend, they decided that Quest Rogue is actually favoured against Odd Paladin.
Yeah, the reason that match took place was basically Fino tweeted out saying, look, we're going to do this because I think the Quest Rogue is favoured against Paladin, and the whole world went, Fino, guy who's second in the whole world on points, or third. Nah.
That sounded a bit like Dr. Boom's laugh.
Yeah, I've slowly been transforming into a cackling maniacal idiot over the last, about 20 years ago. But Fino took it up and played out the show match, and he won 6-2. Okay, it's a sample size of 8, but watching those matches, that Quest Rogue, I want to see it playing its Paladin today and see how it goes somewhere along the line. But yes, it does look like Quest Rogue might be favoured in that matchup. And again,
however,
that is just a bizarre result.
However, it's going to be the Odd Rogue versus Odd Paladin today, which, as we've said, the Paladin should still very much be favoured against. I mean, you just work it out in your head, right? Like, Paladin hits a hero power, gets 2 guys. Rogue uses their hero power, gets 1 weapon. 1 weapon kills 1 guy. 2 more guys appear. 1 more weapon kills 1 more guy. 2 more guys appear. The Paladin just overwhelms the Rogue, and that's with hero powers alone.
That seems reasonable to me. The Rogue does have more mana available because the weapon stays up for 2 turns, but still doesn't compensate enough for just the tempo the Paladin can get, because that matchup is all about who has the most things.
Right, exactly. And the scenario in which I described was assuming they just use the hero power every turn, but Paladins can also play, 1 mana 1/1s with Divine Shield and Taunt to protect their things. And
have to be a little bit careful with the Divine Shields, because if the Rogue can stick maybe a Blood Knight for 9, then it doesn't matter how many 1/1s you've got, because you can't have 9, because that's not how the board works. They've got 2 Blood Knights. So the tiptoeing around for Norway will be about how do we lose? We lose to a massive Blood Knight, so it'd be interesting to see how they manage their own Divine Shield.
Yep. That is true. It's something that I think a lot of players forget, especially when they're just playing on ladder against Odd Rogues nowadays. Yeah, I just stick my Giggling Inventor. I'll play another one. Good luck getting through this rogue. Oh no, you've got a 21-21 on the board.
And both sides will know this, and so it'd be interesting to see how it goes. I was playing against CKL, one of the Swedish players on ladder the other day, and so I didn't play my Giggling Inventor for as long as possible. Eventually had to play it, and he goes, oh, here's the Blood Knight I've kept in my hand for 27 turns. I'm like, okay, thanks, mate.
But here we go. Zorkthar starting out with Lost in the Jungle in the opening hand. I mean, he wants to have the most aggressive start possible. The only big question I'm looking at for him is Corridor Creeper, and he's decided to keep hold of it.
Yep, and no reason not to. One of the ways this matchup can go slightly wrong for you is if somehow the Rogue sticks some high health minions and starts just trading in every turn. What better way to take advantage of that than by having a Corridor Creeper? And last time we saw Zorkthar piloting Paladin, I think he was in a mirror where he didn't draw anything to do and just got absolutely obliterated a few weeks ago. I think it was even week 1. He looks a lot happier with the situation today. A bit early for that, Zork. So
hey, it's a long day of Hearthstone ahead of him.
Will be a lot of fans in chat, I imagine, for both of these two players. Patoyao's pretty big streamer these days. I've seen him with 4 figures a few times.
Oh, really?
And obviously had his own results in the year 2.
None will survive indeed, Baku. We're just all hoping you don't get drawn.
Ooh. Looking at Thailand's hand, though, they can at least... You know, Diamond with 3 health is important, and then coining out SIs is not just another 3 health, but kills off a dude if they want to go that route and just ignore their dagger, the slow dagger you were talking about.
Double SI7 agent is about as good an anti-aggro opening that the odd rogue can hope for, especially with the coin, and as you said, the 1-3 Diamond, which is a dude killer.
It is, but it doesn't kill this, which is basically better Diamond.
Yes.
So the Blood Knight is there, the Giggling Inventor is there. See how that little dance progresses as the game goes on? Sure, we'll see some shenanigans with those. Oh!
Ooh, okay. Well, that gets played this turn.
Yeah, trading into the Diamol so you can just play your Lost in the Jungle alongside it looks pretty good.
Wait, what? Hang on. Was I wrong?
Maybe.
Is Zorkthar mind gaming me here? So yeah, obviously his options here. Hero power, but then the Diamond is going to start value trading with the 1-1s, or go Blessing of Might on the Glowtron, make that value trade, and play Lost in the Jungle. Norway end up with a 4-2 and 2 1-1s. Thailand end up with nothing. But no, he's going to just play the hero power. Why, Larinder?
Because if you have a 4-2, it dies to the natural curve of either coin SI7 or the weapon, and you end up blowing your Blessing of Might. So although you don't instantly get the board here, you have a Blessing of Might for later. You're still challenging this Diamol on board, and you've given them a less good reason to do this SI7. And now you can use your Blessing of Might to trade into the SI7 agent.
There you go. That does seem better. Blessing of Might hero power, I guess, is playable this turn. It does mean that Norway end up with 2 1-1s, and Thailand still have that Diamol, though. And it just goes to show how much work this Diamol is doing in this matchup.
Is doing a lot, of course. The fight isn't won or lost until turn 4 when you go into those Fungal Mancer turns.
I'm going to stop predicting Norway's plays now.
Yeah, like I was saying, the game isn't over until turn 4. It's not over until someone's dead, but the Fungal Mancer setup is what you're both going for here. You want to have 2 minions versus none or whatever on turn 4. You want to play that Fungal Mancer. And the way to do that is go this wide, so that although you're losing minions, you're keeping enough on the board that the Fungal Mancer will be ready to go. And of course, if you are losing these trades, that Corridor Creeper, the Sleeper, is getting cheaper all the time.
I guess that's sort of the advantage we were talking about right from the beginning, though. I mean, one of the things that makes Paladin favoured in this matchup is the fact that Rogue cannot deal with a wide board. Odd Rogue does not run Fan of Knives. It has no way really to deal with this apart from continuously trading, making these annoying little trades there. 3-3 goes into 1-1 all through the game. Pattaya is just never going to be dealing any damage to Zorkthar's face.
Interesting they're choosing to keep the South Sea deckhand back as an activator for the next SI7. Would have been very tempted to just trade it in, even though it's a 2-1 for a 1-1, just to try and keep this flow of minions under control. But now we're seeing the resolution of all the things that Norway have done previously. They still have a Blessing of Might, which could be very handy. And going into the Fungal Mancer turn, they should have absolute control of the board.
It's another great display of just how difficult these more aggressive matchups are to play, though, because as I've clearly illustrated, I would have played this very differently, and I would have been punished by the SI7 agents, by deckhands, by the weapon, etc. But Zorkthar has put himself in a phenomenal position.
Yeah, when people come away from games saying there's nothing I could have done, there's always something you could have done. Maybe it wouldn't have been better, but there's always decision points, even in the most simple situations. And Norway are showing that now. And look how they've got themselves ready for this Fungal Mancer.
Yep. There is no way of preventing that from going off this turn.
They are going to be Thailand have, because of keeping back the South Sea deckhand as an activator, they're going to be able to do some damage this turn. The pause there was while they work out what to void rip and how to go about that.
Yeah, I was wondering if they were going to put the 2-1 deckhand into the 5-2 Corridor Creeper, but they actually value having something on the board a little bit more than that, so they're going to tank the 5 damage.
Yeah, your health total is borderline irrelevant in this game. The second you lose the board to the Paladin, you've lost the game.
Yep. As Zorkthar now has this Fungal Mancer board available to him, and I'd be surprised if he doesn't take it. He's not going to take it. Giggling Inventor instead.
And somebody shouted, "Oi, Blood Knight!" and he's just having another thing.
Let me think.
The question is really, how much does he care about Blood Knight? So
well, the fact he's got the second Giggling Inventor means that he doesn't care as much because he can just stodge up the board.
So he plays Giggling Inventor. Blood Knight comes down as a 9-9.
You play another giggling eventer, you trash your opponent's board.
Patayo daggers one of the Annoyatrons, puts Void Ripper into the other. The 1/1 goes into into the 2/1. No, it doesn't because the Makaru's trading into that. So yeah, I mean, this is fine. There's still going to be taunts preventing this 9/9 Blood Knight from going face. I don't think Norway care all too much about this.
Seems that they didn't, and just took another step to calculate everything there was worth watching. He wanted to instinctively do it, then just had to think.
Now the 2/1 itself can trade into the Void Ripper, and Zorkthar can just go ahead, play a second Giggling Inventor, maybe this turn drop Blessing of Might as well, and start actually dealing damage to the face.
Yeah, they do need to consider the second Blood Knight, I think. Do they? Let me just see how many Blood Knights. Yeah, there are 2.
Yeah.
So, because that's one way they can lose this game of Hearthstone, is they play Giggling Inventor number 2 and the second Blood Knight is played. Then they probably wouldn't be able to keep up, so they're going to have to talk about that. They can deal with this one, but it's a very resource-heavy set of trades if they want to. Oh yeah, this is what the decision is. They decided last time to play the Giggling, and then someone's just saying, what about the second Blood Knight? But playing the odds, playing what they think's going on, and also thinking they can just race it to victory anyway with Fungal Mancer, that second Blessing next turn will be huge amounts of damage. Plus, it's not there anyway.
I mean, hey, look at this. If there was a Blood Knight here, Dagger kills one, the Blood Knight that's currently on the board deals with the other. Sort of, then what?
Yeah, then what? Exactly.
There's still going to be a 4/1 on the board, a 2/1 and a 1/1. Like, Norway is still ahead in that situation.
And that 4/1's not a 4/1, it's a 9/3 next turn if they wanted it to be.
Whew.
Obviously, you would split up the Blessings better than that, but yeah. Just representing very close to lethal, and the Blood Knights wouldn't get it done. And this is all about how they've planned through the next few turns.
As it happens, though, with no second Blood Knight, what is the play now? I guess Fledgling...
Bottom right.
Bottom right?
No, not quite. Well, from what we can see it is, but from what they can see, maybe not so much.
Fledgling SS7 agents deal with 4/1, trade with one of these Annoyatrons, because Giggling Inventor is that strong. It's just really stopping Patayo in his footsteps, even though he's played a Blood Knight this game.
Yeah. It was 2 Giggling Inventors versus 1 Blood Knight. It's not a fair fight.
Blood Knight is literally in there to counter Giggling Inventors.
This is the thing, though. If you're playing a card that counters another card, so on the occasions where you draw it and they don't, it's pretty useless, although it fits in odd row because you have your own Divine Shields.
Yep.
And on the occasions where they draw their thing and you don't draw your counter, well, the thing's still not countered. So there's a lot of ways that counters are worse than their counterparts. Again, it's not so bad in this deck because you have your own Divine Shield, so you make use of the Blood Knight anyway. Now Norway do have to take a turn to work out, do we get there? If we ignore our opponent's board, do we get there? And I think the answer might be no. They have seen a lot of the removal. They've seen both SI7s. That will encourage them somewhat.
It looks as though, at the very least, they need to deal with this Fledgling.
I think so too.
That's going to start adapting, going face, and causing a little bit of mischief there in the Flappy Bird ways.
And then you've got to balance, do you want 2 dudes or do you want immediate 3 damage to the face? Because you can get a Firefly down, it's only 1 dude you're missing, so this is fine.
Is this all going face?
It's all going face. They've decided they've got lethal damage next turn in nearly every situation. How do you clear all this lot up without some sort of bonkers hand?
Yeah, you're right. Can Leroy do enough? No.
I mean, this Blood Knight, even if Thailand were to win this game, this Blood Knight's going to have to trade a lot of times. Which is not the situation you need to be in anyway. Would Vile Spine do it? If there was a Vile Spine, you could Vile Spine some stuff and probably get into this, but it would have been played by now, so it would have to have been a top deck.
Yeah, you're right. Vile Spine drawn would be fine. Blood Knight drawn would potentially be okay. Trade. No, yes, Blood Knight drawn would leave Norway 1 off lethal. So
and then Thailand have to do 30 damage in 2 turns. And don't forget, Norway have weapons in their deck as well, still to come if needed.
Yeah, counter argument. Thailand do have 2 vicious fledglings available to them, and
yeah.
they can win the game in a matter of turns themselves.
Yeah, the trades required, I think, would be very hard on the blade. But you are right, it could have gone the other way. But as it stands, Patayo gives it up, and Norway take a 2-0 lead. And enjoy that face. A smiling Zorkthar is not a Zorkthar you always see.
He's got a cute smile.
He's like Norway's Sintolol.
Norway's Sintolol. better than Norway's Crane, I guess.
Whoa, daily Crane jab.
I'm kidding. Hey, I'm entitled to one. I queued into Crane on the ladder a couple times the last day of the season, and he just tweeted at me saying, "I don't like you."
Well, in that case, it's fair game, Crane.
On that lovely note, we are going to go to a short break and give Norway and Thailand a chance to get ready for the next match. So we'll be back with plenty more Hearthstone Global games right after this. It's HGG Week 6 and it's Norway versus Thailand. The score is 2-0 to... I'll take a guess.
Norway.
You guessed correctly.
Because I work with Dr. Boom and he tells me all these exciting facts.
I think you may have cheated though, Lorinda. You actually were watching the games, casting them with me.
Don't always watch them though.
But like asking then.
According to chat, I don't watch the game, so hey, let's just take a guess.
All right, but let's take a look. Game number 3, NTR versus Viper Pro. And as we said, it's going to be Token Druid versus Subject 9 mid-range Hunter. Now this is a strange matchup, and I think we disagree a little bit on who's favoured.
I'm not sure we do. I think the same as you, because I didn't realise it was Token Druid when we were talking about it.
Ah, okay. In that case, we entirely agree, and Token Druid should be in a good spot here. My argument being, although I haven't seen too much of this matchup, Token Druid is pretty much the anti-aggro Druid deck. And Hunter, Subject 9 mid-range Hunter, is sort of the aggro Hunter deck?
That's one way of putting it, for sure. There's things the Hunter can do. It can set up situations where it's got an explosive trap up and plays Rexarg and clear 2 boards that way.
Yes.
So Norway will have to be very careful. The Hunter can just go Secret Keeper, lol. And just smash you in the face for a million.
Then my Druid goes Spellstone, lol.
I go Spellstone, lol back. And so on. But yeah, it is one of those matchups that the Token Druid is in a good spot against, especially if they're playing many Power of the Wilds, which haven't had a chance to just double check yet.
Gaskin mentioned yesterday that we'd been playing a lot of Token Druid over the weekend. Token Druid, which seems to be one of the strongest decks in Hearthstone at the moment, at least in my opinion. And like, yeah, okay, sure, the Hunter plays Spellstone, but then the Druid plays Spreading Plague. And the problem for the Hunter is that it's very difficult for them to consistently clear everything off of the board and play around these Savage Roars and Branching Paths.
Yeah, that's the problem. They've got to work out how big they want to go because of the Spreading Plagues. Yeah. So they've got to balance it very well. But again, we've seen Thailand doing everything they can in these matchups so far.
That's sort of something that I think we'd been talking about over the last couple of days as well, is that, in my opinion, Token Druid is one of the hardest decks to play against. Because, and I know you disagree with
Kill their things!
But for me, having to balance sort of how wide to make your board, how to play around these Spreading Plagues, because Spreading Plague, Arcane Golem, Soul of the Forest is a disgusting turn.
I mean, the thing to worry about is if they have Spreading Plague, can I win anyway? Sometimes the answer is no, so you just spew everything onto the board and say, okay, if they have it, I lose. And sometimes the answer is, well, I can beat it if I keep my board narrow, kill their 3 things, then go wide after and hope they don't have the second one. Can I beat 2 Spreading Plagues? And you need to evaluate. If I can't beat it, I go for it. If I can beat it, that's when it gets tricky.
But the problem is they always have it because of Ultimate Infestation.
That's true. Although if you're getting to turn 10, you're probably in a bit of trouble anyway.
One of the really interesting things you can do against Druid generally, actually, as you go into turn 10, that's the turn to not play around Spreading Plague.
Sure.
Because if you then go as wide as you can, force the opponent to play Spreading Plague instead of Ultimate Infestation, it does slow them down a little bit.
Yeah, Token Druid's weird for that. It doesn't fit any archetype very well. Like we talk about aggro, mid-range, control, and combo. They're the 4 card game, long-established archetypes. This is almost like a threat deck, where you keep making threats, and the threat that you're going to kill them next turn is enough to make your opponent have to panic. When you actually use your threat, you usually win the game. So it's like, here's these things, you have to kill them or I'm going to beat you.
But what's weird about looking at it that way is then you look at some of the matchups against decks that have a lot of threat removal. I would call Big Spell Mage potentially a deck that has the most threat checks, the most ways of dealing with these big threats. But Token Druid's favoured against Big Spell Mage.
It's because you never actually... They're only threats, they're not real... Like a 1/1 Wisp is not a card that's going to hurt you. It's the threat that it might be bigger. So your removal deck ends up killing some 1/1s and some 2/1s because it has to. It has to kill off all of the Giggling Eventer, or you might just get hit for 20 next turn. And so the stuff you've got in your hand that you might not even have makes your opponent use removal inefficiently. That's why I mean it's like a threat deck.
So that's Lorinda fact number 2. A 1/1 Wisp is not going to hurt you.
It's going to do 1 damage, isn't it? It's like Dan's fact. It's close, but it's not true.
I think that we are now jumping into the game. It's going to be Token Druid versus mid-range Hunter, and there's the Secret Keeper lol.
Yeah, and I think they need this start. Houndmaster doesn't... This is one thing I've always found weird about Secret Hunter decks since the dawn of time, is that the Houndmasters are A, needed, and B, tend to be kind of useless.
It just occurred to me, we've not mentioned that this is the newer build of Token Druid that everyone's been playing over the last few days. It's the Phlebidinous Floop Strong Shell Scavenger version of the deck. Now, to my knowledge, it was a player named Quattro who first started putting strong-shelled scavengers into his Token Druid. He managed to get top 100 with the deck, sort of shared the list around, and ever since then it's been evolving. I believe Tyler is one of the big names that sort of adapted the deck and started to perfect it. And now we've ended up with this build that a lot of the players are saying is just better than old Token Druid.
I've seen players say it's not, though. I know Fino was
Fino
tweeting out that, nah, I prefer the old version. So I always find this interesting when somebody comes up with a new deck, because the first thing that happens is people play badly against it because it's new. So if you get top 100 with a slightly different build, people will make mistakes. And then everybody tries to get into this evaluation game. And watching the pros on Twitter, if you don't follow pros on Twitter and you like Hearthstone, you should, because watching them argue is great fun. Watching them argue about it is very enlightening a lot of the time. Even if you don't end up knowing which is the better deck, you usually end up with your own opinion on it.
Viper Pro already got some questions to answer. He's going to play this nice and quickly, though. Go straight out with the Freezing Trap. I was wondering if he'd just try and curve into minions, but I guess this into Secret, into Bear Shark, into Crackling Razormaw afterwards looks like a pretty fine curve.
You do get an extra pew-pew to the face this way as well in the long run. And
for those of you that haven't seen, I mean, you can use the !decklist command to check the deck lists right now, those of you watching the stream. But the difference is, or sort of what this new version of Token Druid has ended up with, is 1 copy of Saronite Chain Gang, 1 Phlebidinous Floop, and 2 copies of Strong Shell Scavenger, as opposed to Oaken Summons and Violet Teachers.
He just tidies up the turn 4 a little bit, which the old Get My Violet Teacher Out was kind of... It was all right. It generated more threats, but also it never seemed to get it done. The Violet Teacher tended to get it done on turn 10 better than on turn 4.
And Floop, in this world in which we're not running Oaken Summons, suddenly Phlebidinous Floop is played. And Floop has a lot of advantages here. Firstly, if played after Saronite Chain Gang, it's like a buffed Saronite Chain Gang. Secondly, you can play it with a Strong Shell Scavenger. And thirdly, you can play it as a 0-mana 3/4 after Arcane Tyrant.
They've got a lethal setup next turn, though, if Crackling Razormaw does its thing.
Okay.
So we need to keep an eye on this.
So as fun as it is explaining how the deck works...
Yeah, Razormaw into Wind Fury or even a plus.
Is this game just over?
17 damage. If they can get +3 attack, or they can get Wind Fury, this game would be over. Oh, the +1 armor would actually now mean they need to get Wind Fury only.
Okay, all right. Let's calm down.
Dan takes a breath because it's like, okay, whew, Dan, Norway's biggest fan, by the way.
Well, it was that I'd only just finished explaining how the deck works. Now the game's over.
Yeah, as you were doing that, I'm sitting there watching this unfold, thinking we can ignore it a little bit longer, but I'm going to have to tread on his toes in a minute.
Ouch.
Yeah, and toe treading time it is. And that is such a crazy turn. Deciding whether to go Secret Keeper Wandering Monster here, that would be playing into a potential thingy.
Yeah.
Spreading Plague. But
Thingy is a horrible card.
But they have 7 damage from hand next turn, so...
Yep, and they'd put NTR to 6 health, so he'd have to play Spreading Plague and heal, which he cannot do. This game is looking dire. Spellstone, does that help? No, because the Bear Shark has untargetable.
But there's Branching Paths for 12, which means they can kill off something.
So they'd kill off the 4/3, put themselves to 18, and leave 12, 13, 14 damage on the board. It doesn't really achieve them anything.
Yeah, remember this is a freezing trap, so Branching Paths Savage Roar also doesn't get it done.
What is Malfurion good enough with just the taunts? puts them to 11. It's like a miniature spreading plague.
Boshity.
Bosh.
No, it's not enough.
Oof.
Because the 3-2 and the 2-3 is 5, the kill command is 10, and the
11,
ping is
yeah.
12, because we know it's a freezing trap.
Time waits for no one.
And Thailand looking like they've got one back here. Yeah, they're going for the savage draw. This makes a lot of sense to me. They don't know it's a freezing trap. This would have enabled them to go for the branching path afterwards, get a lot of stuff cleared up, and because there's so many traps in this deck, Norway playing the odds there, deciding that they've got to have a chance. Hope it's not freezing, but Thailand keeping that freezing trap in their opening hand to activate the Secret Keeper, get one back in double quick time. 2-1. Dream is still alive for Thailand.
Zorkthar promised me a 3-0 this series. He said to me that in the past, whenever they felt as though they'd won the matchups phase, they 3-0'd, but not this time.
2-1 it is.
Little chink in Nordvin's armour.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a massacre. The curve worked out well, and getting that bear shark down and then getting the buff on it, absolutely beautiful there.
But we have 2 more games coming up. Let's take a look at what's coming up next. It's going to be Colbane on the Control Priest versus Cappy on the Control Mage. Now, this isn't a matchup I've seen much of recently at all. And I think, unfortunately, Lorinda, it's one of those, again, that just comes down to Frostled's Jaina. If Jaina is drawn, all of that healing is picked up, the armor gain from the Arcane Artificer is present, then Anduin just won't be able to get the job done.
Yeah, and it does depend also on the Anduin, because the sort of relationship between Anduin and Jaina, as it were, I'm not very good at law.
Scandalous.
is basically how much quicker than the Jaina can get your Anduin into play. As you say, it pretty much cancels it out, but the priest does have things it can do. There's only 2 Arcane Artificers for the mage, and it's going to be a long one either way. It's going to be interesting. What I like about the long matches is you get to see which cards people store for a rainy day.
Yeah.
So what does the mage do about a potential Alexstrasza, for instance? Probably keep their Artificer back.
I'm just looking at the specifics of this list. It is the more minion-heavy build that we've seen a little bit more from Big Spell Mage recently. We're talking Bright-Eyed Scout, Giggling Inventor, Ziliax played in this Big Spell Mage, which is a little bit different from Thailand.
A bit more healing.
Astromancer, obviously, is sort of the new pseudo Spiteful Summoner, right? Like, you play it, and then you've got a big handful of minions, and you get a big minion on the board.
Yeah, Mage's had a variety of cards which make minions. They've all looked good and haven't been, but this one does seem to have broken that mould. It's actually looked good and is. It can generate a threat which Jaina Mage does struggle with. And so a chance to finish the game off on turn 10 or 12 rather than waiting until fatigue just gives your opponents less ways to come back into it.
There are a lot of threats in this deck, actually. Again, like Ziliax is a good chunk of healing, great, but then double Astromancer, Syndragosa, the Lich King, Dragoncaller Alana, many 3/6 water elementals.
That's a lot of water elementals.
There will be a lot of water elementals.
No Holy Fire for Norway. They've gone with this very pure build of this deck, sort of, we're just going to Alexstrasza you and hit you, and that could be a big deal.
Are they playing double Cabal Shadow Priest?
Yeah, double Cabal Shadow Priest, double Twilight Acolyte.
Yeah.
So plenty of chances to steal those big minions and hit you with them.
Good old steal your toys, Priest.
Everybody loves Priest.
Priest has always sort of dipped in and out of that little class identity of just stealing all of the opponent's things. Do you remember Entomb? Entomb was a good card.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
The ultimate steal your thing, put it in my deck.
I pretty much got over that, and now you go and bring it up again.
And Entomb mirror matches were weird, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
Just entomb each other's things. They're a bit like Archbishop Benedictus mirror matches are weird.
You're horrible, Dan. It's early, and you're talking about things that my brain can't process already.
Apologies for that. We're just giving Norway a couple seconds. I think they got disconnected, but in a moment we'll be able to start up the next game of the series. But it's difficult to call this one. I would have to give the slight edge to Thailand, I think.
Yeah, like you say, it's just pretty 50-50 here.
Depending on where Frostless Jaina is in the deck. I mean, seriously, I'm giving the edge to Thailand, depending on where Frostless Jaina is. If Jaina's
But where's it going to be?
be?
If you're going to pick who's got the edge, tell us how many cards does it need to be in for Thailand to be favoured?
Oh, okay, so...
Out of 30.
20? Maybe,
Okay.
maybe that's not... Maybe I'm not giving Jaina enough credit. No, maybe I'm giving Jaina too much credit there, rather. Like, maybe it does need to be sooner in the day. Why? What do you think, Lorenzo?
I haven't got a clue.
That's why you're just asking me.
Of course. Anytime a caster says to the other caster, hey, what do you think about this? Of course, they don't know.
But it's still relative, isn't it? Like, because it depends also on the position of Anduin. If Jaina's card 20 and
Exactly.
Anduin's card number 29, then Jaina probably still wins.
Hang on, let's just do a matrix of... No, let's not do that today.
Just a big Excel spreadsheet. Which fact is this production? Because I'm losing track of these entirely. What was that supposed to be? Oh, about casters not knowing anything. Great. Today's going great.
So far, facts. Wisps don't do damage. Casters don't cast.
And we've both forgotten what the first one was.
And it's only the first... Yeah, there probably wasn't a first one. And production are already in a cheeky mood.
Production, of course.
12 hours of Hearthstone ahead of us, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're dug in deep. We are. We're waiting for Norway to reconnect right now.
We are waiting. In the corner of my eye, I can just see a screen that says Norway is offline. I think they've just come back online, and I think I can see admin typing that.
And I can see a screen that isn't on. So that's helping a lot.
Where are your glasses, Lorinda?
I can't really see things if I wear glasses.
You can't see things if you don't wear glasses either, so what's the difference?
What's the point? I look more distinguished, though.
You do. You look very classy with glasses.
Or older, as the word is usually described as. If it goes to game number 5, then it will be Hunter Ace playing Odd Warrior, Evenlock.
Warlock, yeah. Evenlock versus Odd Paladin, I think.
Yeah.
So,
How do you feel about that?
I feel like that's very Warlock favoured.
Yeah, I do too. So Thailand have got to get this one done to get themselves into game number 5 and see how that goes. But they have put up a good fight in the games where they were unfavoured. I think they're showing a lot of class here today.
It's been a close, apart from the last,
thank goodness.
game, it's been a close series all the way through. Yes!
Hearthstone has broken out on our stream, ladies and gentlemen. We're very sorry to interrupt this chat, but we are going to get on with this game number 4. Norway looking to all but secure a spot in the top 16. Their tiebreakers are a little bit wobbly, but they're not anything they should be too scared of.
I don't see a hero card in either hand, so I expect most of these cards to get thrown away on both sides. Potentially, Bright-Eyed Scout sticks around. Maybe, because that's an extra card draw, and obviously the mana discount is big. But hey, look what Norway got in their mulligan.
Oh, Shadow Reaper Anduin.
Yeah.
So they're going to be able to start getting some of that damage in early and also use it as a removal spell if needed to get rid of big stuff. Have you seen a turn 5 Jaina yet with Bright-Eyed Scout?
Yes.
You have. I've not seen it happen yet. Today would be a good day for Thailand to get that to happen. Why draw it in your opening hand when you can draw it off a Bright-Eyed Scout?
That is a very good question. There are a lot of good targets from Bright-Eyed Scout, though. A lot of bad ones as well. 5-mana Arcane Artificers, for example, aren't exactly what they want. But if they do get the 5-mana Jaina, the Alana, the Lich King, Syndragosa, Astromancer, or even Skulking Geist isn't horrible, then it can do some pretty good work.
Well, talking of doing pretty good work, you talked about Anduin being in Norway's hand, but now they have a Shadow Visions, which can fetch multiple Mind Blasts, of course, and Alexstrasza, which can do 15 damage if Jaina doesn't come to play. And so Norway are assembling the pieces here for a potential quick win, but it never goes like that against Mage. They always find some sort of way to stay alive. Is everybody okay backstage? Okay, so Norway are one turn away from being able to get their Twilight Drake going, which will start the threat chain that Thailand will need to remove.
Cappy could just jam this Glassless Ooze on the board. There's no weapon in Carbaine's deck and no way for him to get a weapon, so there's no reason not to play just 3-3 and start dealing some damage, but the damage is sort of meaningless at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. It's all about you've got to check the damage just to make sure your opponent doesn't go absolutely crazy, because an Ooze isn't a problem, 2 Oozes probably isn't a problem, an Ooze, a Bright-Eyed Scout and something else, it could suddenly become a problem. So these control deck mirrors, or control versus control matches, early damage tends not to stick, but you have to play the game. You have to mess around and try and stop each other from doing stuff. But as you say, it is basically irrelevant right now. The damage would get healed back up on both sides.
Okay, Cappy believes that Frostless Jaina is 2 cards deep in his deck right now.
Okay.
That's what's going on here. It's not that the Polymorph was a better play this turn at all. It's that he knows Jaina is 2 cards deep in the deck.
It is interesting that he used that Polymorph that quickly, though. That is 1 less water elemental you get later on. Polymorph very good when you draw the Jaina.
I've told you why he's played it.
No, because the next card is Jaina.
No, the card after the next card.
Sorry, yeah. If it's the next card, he's going to be so upset. It's like those people, you play physical card games, and you win, and then your opponent looks at the top card of their deck like it's going to matter. Like, yeah, what are you going to do? The best thing that you can do in that situation is upset yourself. If I'd lived 1 more turn, I'd have won.
I'm that guy.
Are you?
Yeah.
I instantly pick up my cards and shuffle them all together, so I never know.
I would love to in Hearthstone when I've got like no way to get lethal and I was 1 damage off or something. I'd love to look at the next few cards and see if it was there.
What I'd love in Hearthstone is if at the end of the game, after you concede or whatever, if your opponent's hand and your hand and all the secrets are revealed.
That'd be cool.
Just so you can see how they played and why they did what they did.
Okay, it wasn't Jaina. The next card wasn't Jaina. So now Cuppy has to decide, is it worth leaving that Cleric alive? Because he could play Voodoo Doll and deal with it and prevent a lot of potential card draw over the next few turns. Or he could go ahead and draw that Frostless Jaina.
A point we should address that has changed over the last couple of turns while we've been talking standard time-killing stuff in control matches is that Norway have drawn both of their Mind Blasts.
Oh dear.
This is going to, yeah, oh dear indeed. That's going to severely restrict the amount of damage they can do. They would be hoping to have picked some up from Shadow Visions to get 15 or even 20 points worth of Mind Blast.
Again, counter-argument though, they do have Anduin and Alex Strasser in the hand, which means that is potentially 16 damage on turn 10 after Anduin and Alex Strasser have both been played.
It's almost like the deck was originally built to do that.
It's blisteringly fast now, what Kelbane can do.
Yeah, this is how the deck was originally built. You Alex them and then you just Mind Blast them. I think it was Zetalot who did the very first version of this.
Right.
Oddly enough, I mean, if it wasn't, it's a good guess, right? Zetalot Priest, kind of a thing. But I think he was the first person to start playing Mind Blast in not really combo Priest.
He's going to draw that Jaina now. It's going to cost 9.
Okay. But he'll have 9 soon anyway.
I guess.
And Cobain already setting up for finishing off the Hearthstone game as quickly as possible.
Now I feel silly.
You are silly, Dan. Well, Cappy's Geist doesn't do as much as Cobain's does because he's just done all the work for him.
It's a 6-mana 4/6. Cappy's just wishing that was a Boulder Fist Ogre in his deck.
What to do?
Is he?
Well, not really.
Boulder Fist Ogre never gets it done for me.
But in this situation, it would be much better than... Actually, it'd be weaker to Shadowy Pandarin. Never mind, Geist is still better.
That's kind of scary. What even is the Geist anyway? I never really looked at the picture properly. Ugh, that's horrible. That's really scary.
I don't know. Just looks a little bit like you.
Well, there you go. That's definitely pretty terrifying. Right, Cappy, best way to fight for the board, he feels, is just to hope that the opponent's Geist has to slow down. And Norway now have 1 turn to kill.
Well,
yeah,
they can clear the board pretty nicely if they want to go Duskbreaker and trade the Geist.
They don't need face damage because they've got Alex in their hand.
They could Duskbreaker and heal the Geist and then trade it so that they have the Geist and Duskbreaker both alive.
That seems good.
On their side of the board. I mean, these are just simple plays. I don't think there's any need to really consider Divine Him or anything. They're not under any threat yet.
Yeah, Divine Him works really well with Anduin as well because it only costs 2, which means that you can sometimes get more pew-pew out of it.
There's no healing in Thailand's hand.
There's nothing. I mean, Thailand's hand is absolutely abysmal right now for this matchup. If you're playing against Paladin, yeah, you like this hand right now, if you're still alive.
If you're still alive, yeah, exactly.
Something else Norway will be able to do should the game drag on, should Cappy find some healing, is Shadow Visions into Shadow Visions multiple times a turn to get extra pings. They're nowhere near that stage yet, but I think that might happen. Lich King, not a huge amount of help right now.
Coin Lich King into Shadow Reaper Anduin
Yeah.
doesn't feel that good at all. It's got to be time for that Bright-Eyed Scout, but maybe Thailand's afraid of this pressure.
Well, if they lose this board, then after Anduin Alexstrasza into hits you for a lot of damage,
Yeah.
sets up the Mind Blast beautifully.
This game might be over faster than we expected. Although we said during both Mind Blast is bad for Cobain, it seems to have worked out pretty well for him.
Yeah, that's in the matchups where you have to fight against things like Artificers and Jainas, and from where Norway sat, they do. Especially the Artificers in particular. If you don't see Jaina soon, they'll know it's not there. But in terms of the Artificer, they will assume that Thailand will use that for some healing. And did you say Thailand have more healing in their deck too?
Just the Jaina and the Artificers, I think. Oh, and Ziliax.
Ziliax, yeah. I'd registered there's something else.
Which is fine, but it's got the same issue as the Scalehides do. It's rush, it's not charge, it's not immediate healing if Cobain's board remains empty.
Yeah, we'll have to immediately just jam it into an Alexstrasza
Yep.
on top of other cards, and Ziliax costing 5 doesn't make that much fun.
Interesting that Cappy went for the Dragon's Fury and Ping rather than Flame Strike, which also would have cleared up the board. I guess, well, he's valuing Flame Strike as better than Dragon's Fury in this matchup. I just can't see why. In what situation is he going to want to...
The only one I can think of immediately is if it gets to Fatigue, which they're still hoping to do, even though their hand is currently not the right one. Remember, they can't see the danger they're in.
That's true.
Then the Dragon's Fury does nothing.
Yep.
But
That explains it.
that's all I got. So again, Norway, it's obvious to us what they should do, but it's not obvious to them because they're expecting Artificers, which is also another reason to keep Flame Strike, because you heal for 7 instead of 5, and you don't blow up your own board as well. So multiple reasons actually for Dragon's Fury. Because it looks a bit weird to me. It wasn't the most mana efficient play. The ping's obviously practically useless.
There you go, as expected. Anduin comes down, second Bright-Eyed Scout drawn, and this is as good a chance as any for Thailand to make either of these plays, actually. Bright-Eyed Scout seems good. The Lich King, given that Anduin has just played, seems good. But we are going into turn 9 for Norway, and Norway are running 2 copies of Twilight Acolyte and Cabal Shadow Priest, so the Lich King just looks worse and worse.
Yeah, I feel like they go for the Bright-Eyed Scout. If you hit Jaina, you can play her immediately with the first one.
No. Oh, yeah, with the coin.
You've got the coin. And then on the second one, you're sort of in that position by then. Lich King is also tempting, but keeping your hand kind of empty in what you're expecting to be a long game is a thing.
They're going for it. They've decided if there's Twilight Acolyte, Cabal Shadow Priest, we probably lose. Just play the best play we can, which is the Lich King.
Can they get any healing here?
Death Coil is the only one, I think. Death and Decay's okay, not great in this matchup.
Yeah, they've got way too much AoE and way nowhere near enough anything else. And we don't need to Mass Dispel the Lich King. We're just going to try and kill you next turn. That doesn't work. A little bit concerned that Thailand haven't managed to get these Bright-Eyed Scouts down, actually.
So they need Bright-Eyed Scout into Jaina right now in order to heal out of range. That's the only... or Ziliax.
Yep.
Jaina or Ziliax are the only 2 draws here that get them out of range.
Yeah, and Ziliax still puts you in a terrifying spot.
What to do?
Nope.
No.
Now what, Thailand?
Nope.
Dan's just noping away quite happily there.
Nope.
Thailand going to qualify this year in the Global Games?
Nope.
No, I don't think they are. Well, we're going through the motions now. Obviously, we've got to see what Thailand are doing from their point of view. They're setting up a board and trying to win it in 2 or 3 turns because they know they're in a wealth of trouble. But they're in more than... Dan's just noping quite happily here.
They're just dead, aren't they?
They are, looking very dead.
And we've said all through this game, Thailand have been playing really well. You mentioned you're a little bit concerned with the fact neither of the scouts have been played. I think that's legitimate. Thailand have generally played very well throughout this entire tournament and through this series today. The first few games, even though they were unfavored, they did a great job of staying alive and almost managing to win. But at the end of everything, Cobain, the whole team, Norway, they've done it. They've managed to get their 4th win in the Hearthstone Global Games, and they should be qualifying to the top 16.
Yeah, every chance. Now, they have got slightly weak tiebreakers. They are one of the teams who are slightly in the danger zone, and a lot of other teams will be very unhappy with that because Thailand has the worst tiebreakers of all, so it's going to make it more exciting down the bottom there, but Norway should be through, and I think if you didn't pick Norway, you're a bit silly, really.
Let's take a look at the series one last time, see what we've just watched as Hunter Ace and Zorkthar were able to win the first couple games, but then Viper Pro got their little win, with very quick win, actually, with the mid-range Hunter versus Token Druid, but finally Colbane finished up the series by winning astonishingly fast with the Control Priest. We both said, uh-oh, that's not good. They've drawn both Mind Blasts, but as it happens,
Pew pew.
That's all Colbane needed to win.
Yeah, gets it done with that Mind Blast Priest. Pretty rapid 3-1, considering especially that last game, the matchups. And Norway can put their feet up and watch the rest of the action for today and see who else is going to join them potentially in that top 16.
We're going to have a chat with Colbane and see what he has to say about the Hearthstone Global Games and Norway's victory. Congratulations, Colbane. You were able to take it away, and we think that you guys have qualified into the top 16. Are you feeling confident now in Norway's chances of winning the whole tournament?
Yeah, I'm feeling really confident. We have the best team in this tournament by far, so I think we should be able to win this.
And how much of this week's preparation was on you with many of the others going to playoffs? Did you have to do a lot more work this week?
I took a bit of responsibility on looking over the last game Thailand played. But when it came to lineup, all the boys were at playoffs and got some good decks from there. And we figured out a good lineup together.
I'm sorry, let's go back a step here. The best team in this tournament by far. Is that...
Yeah.
I was hearing you right, yeah?
Yeah,
okay.
We have Hunter Ace, we have NTR, we have Zorkthar, and then we have me as the water boy, so yeah.
I think you're putting yourself down a bit. You've been doing well in Hearthstone for many years.
Right.
Yeah, but with these guys, I have to take the role as the water boy.
All right, let's give you a chance to throw a little bit of shade here. Top 16, who do you want to see Norway matched up with next?
I want to face Sweden.
Sweden? You're gonna just get
I knew that was coming.
Orange Boston. Nope. No match for Norway.
Yeah, I think Sweden would be pretty much a free win.
On that note, thank you for the chat, Colbane. Congratulations one more time. We should be seeing you in a couple weeks for the top 16.
Yeah, hope so.
Take care, man.
Take care.
Very nice of Colbane there to hope that Sweden qualify. Oh no, hang on. That's not quite how that was worded.
Is it hot in here?
Dan doesn't like drama, and he thought
I love it.
He causes it and then like says, "I don't like the drama."
Let's take a look at some of the best moments from that pretty fast series between Norway and Thailand. There we go. Quest Rogue versus Control Priest. It did get close. Disney did a great job of setting up these little 2-turn, 3-turn lethals, just hoping to get that other Mind Blast. But hey, it wasn't good enough. Hunter Ace was able to survive and set up a little 2-turn lethal of his own.
Yeah, there was a lot of intricate play around the Valera turn there where Thailand wiped out their own board, made sure the scale heights couldn't occur. This game was interesting too, that Blessing of Might. The first one, which was played the previous turn, was held in hand right from the start where it looked like it'd make a good trade-up. But they used its much more effect to just get damage to face, and that set up this situation here where they'd just done so much damage that Thailand could not sustain it.
Blink if you miss it. Mid-range Hunter versus Token Druid went very well for Thailand as they were able to get lethal on turn 6 thanks to the kill command in hand. But hey, Norway didn't even give them the chance. They conceded before it was too late. And finally, last game was also very, very fast. Colbane with the Alex Straza into the double Mind Blast with the pings for a very early lethal hit.
Yeah, the deck doing what it's designed to do. And I know that sounds weird, but in this day and age, decks usually have multiple ways to win. Like, how often do you really see Malygos Druid, for instance, actually go Malygos and then Twig and then kill you that turn? It actually tends to be a lot more rumbling than that, and that's just a part of it. But that's exactly what that deck's supposed to do, and it did it on turn 10.
Yep. Big congratulations one last time to Norway. We have 5 more matches coming up today. Plenty more Hearthstone Global Games action coming up. Plenty more elimination matches coming up. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back soon.